The revolution may not be televised, but it will be broadcasted. Welcome to True Culture, where we stay true to all cultures, especially our own. Thanks for tuning in to the Tap In. You are now vibing with the host who loves you the most. I am Waddy. Joining us today is at-large committee woman, health ambassador, and political strategist. Let's give a warm True Culture welcome to DC's own Sharece Crawford.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, sister. You're always supporting. You're always totally active in the community. You're out here tearing down all types of health barriers that we're subjected to in the city. So I appreciate you for being here.
One day at a time. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are, sister. Yes, we are. Now, let's get straight to it, Sharece. There's so much going on in the news right now. So much breaking news. So many hot topics. We can't touch them all. We're going to touch the most important ones. We're going to start right here at home, like we always do. So let's jump into this B23-0171 legislation that the DC Council recently approved. That gives children as young as 11 years old the right to approve their own vaccines without their parents' permission. Now, Sharece, what is your take on this issue?
Yeah, we completely resent that bill. And it's actually B as in boy 23-0171. We resent the bill completely. We protested against the bill. The mayor still signed the bill. And that was problematic. The bill still passed and now has to go through congressional review once they're back in Congress. And so we are still advocating or lobbying congressional members to take a stronger look at this bill because I do believe it is a violation of civil liberties. We're also waiting to hear back from the Attorney General, Carl Racine, the ACLU DC, which we have not yet heard from. And so we want to hear from the faith-based entities, the religious institutions. It's taken away the 11-year-old's right to have religious beliefs around vaccines and vaccinations. And so it is a very predatory law that is a part of an omnibus bill that we really need to bring awareness to because parents are still not aware that this is what's happening.
They aren't, and it's so let me get this straight. So you mean to tell me that no one else has received a statement as far as this legislation goes from the Attorney General?
We've reached out to the Attorney General, Carl Racine, and we're hoping that he gives a response in writing soon. As of yet, there has not been a response from the Attorney General. He's usually our go-to person when it comes to issues of this magnitude. The ACLU, they're usually allies when it comes to issues of this magnitude. And so to not have a response from any of these entities is also challenging to come to realize.
I thought the ACLU was actively involved in figuring out what they can do to first of all get the mayor to influence the mayor not to sign this bill. So I'm confused a little bit because I thought they were already involved with the fight against this bill. But you're saying that you really haven't heard anything you really haven't heard a response from them as far as like what they're going to do as far as to fight this bill.
Absolutely not. We're calling on all of our legal advisors to have to get them to weigh in on this, to give some input. There are individual families that are seeking individual and independent lawsuits, and they're including 11-year-olds. This is DC Freedom Fighters. They are supporting families who have 11-year-olds, and they are executing lawsuits specifically for that demographic. But on a national level, we have not heard back from the entities that we normally would. And so we're hoping to give them some space because there's a 30-day congressional review on this. And so we're looking forward to getting a response within that time.
Wow. Oh, I'm looking for responses as well. I mean, I really thought the ACLU would have been stepped in and, given some type of support for the people who are fighting against this bill, because like you said, this is like going against our civil rights and our human rights all at the same time to me. religious rights. Religious rights are included in civil and human rights as well. So it's definitely not something that 11-year-olds know. Think about it. 11-year-old can't even give their own permission to go on a field trip. 11-year-olds have to get permission slips signed to go to a museum or anywhere off of school grounds. So why would an 11-year-old why would we give 11-year-olds the right to decide they want to take a vaccine? And what's most important, what people really aren't acknowledging about this vaccine, or maybe they just don't really know the difference, saying this is not the traditional vaccine. This is new technology with new science, and they've only been researching mRNA vaccines for maybe 5-10 years is what they're saying. So I really think that we really need to take our time with this vaccine, because the way that it affects our body, the way that it what they say is going to cause immunity, which if you look at the writing and the write-ups about the vaccine, it does not give us immunity at all. So I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get to herd immunity if it's not even going to give us individual immunity. How do you feel
That's
about the
also
herd immunity in the
problematic.
numbers?
That's also problematic because the DC Health Alliance identified that this law authorized over 20 different vaccines for 11-year-olds to consent to. And at the time that it was approved, the COVID-19 vaccine had not been approved yet, but it was also on the list of vaccines that 11-year-olds could consent for. We have saw a list of other vaccines that they are able to consent to as well. And so no, 11-year-olds have to get field trip permission, the same as any other permission slip. I took an 18-year-old that I mentor to get COVID information, and they were scholars going to college on full scholarships, and they still needed additional support between understanding and interpreting their physician's orders while still trying to understand exactly what actions they needed to take. And so this is very serious with young people not fully understanding and not fully able to explain or manage and maintain their own health records.
Right. And people are acting like this is nothing. Like, the thing about vaccines that's, to me, in my opinion, makes it completely different and puts it in another tier when it comes to, like, how much we should develop it, how much we should research it before we actually say this will work and it's safe, is the fact that this vaccine goes into our actual cells and it goes all the way to the nucleus. It has the ability to actually go all the way into our nucleus, which is where our DNA is found in our cells, and alter the DNA. Now, what they're saying is that they're not going to do that. But if it has the capability of going deeper into the cell and tapping into our DNA and actually altering our DNA, I think that's something serious that we should be discussing and paying more attention to, because the traditional vaccines do not do that. The traditional vaccines actually, they introduce a less potent, for lack of a better word right now, version of the virus, so that our own immune system can recognize it and say, okay, that's something I need. As a foreign invader, like our immune system does to all the foreign invaders. Okay, I recognize you. Now let me start building antibodies and proteins to fight this virus. But that's not the way that it's set up for this mRNA vaccine. So how do you feel about a vaccine that taps into that could have the capability of tapping into our actual DNA?
There are a lot of variables and a lot of concerns which are very legitimate. And I think that is what we have to consider when bills like this one comes through that looks predatory, feels predatory. It does not help trying to restore the trust of those who do not trust this process. And with the council approving the bill and the mayor not vetoing the bill, there is still a very high level of distrust within our government. And I think that it could have been avoided. I think it should have been avoided. And I think that we'll look to our congressional allies to take a deeper look at what is happening at the federal level.
I'm gonna be real. We don't have many allies on that DC council. We just, in my opinion, we just don't. This bill is something that you and I and no one else should even have to worry about discussing. This should be light work when it comes to the people that we elect to represent us and to care about what affects our daily lives and affects our children's daily lives. We shouldn't even have to talk about this. This should be something that came across their board. They read it and they say, okay, this is not going to benefit the people. This is not healthy. This is not safe. This is not going to benefit children. No. But because, and shout out to Trey, man. Shout out to Trey, because without individuals like Trey, we would 100% of the people would be against us. To me, you only have a few allies. And my question is, why do we keep electing people who do this to us? It's like we're doing it to ourselves at this point. We know these people, what they're going to do. We know their track records. To be honest with you, I wouldn't expect for Vincent Gray to do anything other than approve a bill like this, because of, not just because of who I feel like, let me make sure, not just because of who I feel like he is as a human being, but his track record. So my thing is, what do we expect from these people? You know, I'm not saying like community influencers and leaders like yourself, committee women like yourself, are the people that we need to continue to not accelerate. We need to continue to position, because without women like you, men like you, just human beings like you who care about the community and actually do research. Sharece, you research everything. You're full-fledged in the community active and you fight things. You don't just research things and say, hey, I'm against this, and I'm just gonna talk to my friends about how much I disapprove of this. No, you get out here, you educate people, and you motivate people, you mobilize people, and you get things done. So, with that being said, when are you gonna run for mayor? When is Trey gonna run for mayor? When is it gonna happen? Are
Oh
we?
my
Oh, is that somewhere in the near future? Like I know you and Trey are like close to. What's up? Is somebody talking to him about this? We need real people on that level of leadership. I need Trey there, because I know if Trey was there, I wouldn't have to sit here and talk to you about this is a waste of time for us. Now it's not, because we have to discuss it, but this is light work to me.
I think the more conversations we have like this, the more awareness comes for those who are unaware of how laws are made in the city, how unaware people are with following the process. You know, people are trying to keep the bills paid. They're trying to keep the lights on. They're trying to keep a roof over their head. They're trying to keep food on the table. And in the midst of a pandemic, we have a council making these kinds of decisions where people are not following legislative agendas. And so we are fortunate to have platforms like Human Nature and other platforms that are monitoring the process. And that is what it's going to take: more exposure, more access to this information, so people can give a fair shake on how their legislators are voting for them. I do think that my goal is to recruit, a part of our goal is to recruit new leaders into the political process, is to train and develop new leaders into the political process. And so we do hope to inspire the next mayor of the District of Columbia. We do hope to inspire the next legislators on our council. As far as mayor for myself, for Trayon, we have not, either of us, discussed this matter.
Please do.
But
Please start talking about it.
We are in conversations about, you know, the day-to-day operations of helping people maintain their livelihoods and getting people access to information, because there's always the yin and the yang. With everything that's bad or any challenging scenario, there is some good in the economic, there is some good in funding for business development. And so this is what we're dealing with every day in policy. We're taking the bad with the good that's trying to be done. And it looks just like this, a bit of fluid when it comes to monitoring and tracking policy, because people are worried about their bottom line more so than the kind of adverse policy outcomes. And so for people to be unaware of a bill like this one that allows 11-year-olds to consent to vaccines, they're focused on, how do I get more funding for my business? How do I get more funding to keep the lights on? Where's my next check going to come from? Where's housing going to come from? And so
trying to survive.
These are the other very real conversations that are having that are competing, what you call competing priorities. And so programs like yours help keep people in the know. And for those who have the capacity to speak up, we're asking everyone to, again, sign the petition. The petition has been modified by Brother Kimon Freeman, veto B23-0171. This is now being redirected to the Attorney General. It's being redirected to a referendum that's being created in order to inform Congress that this bill needs to be modified, and it is not a people's bill.
It's definitely not a. Have you read? I read. It's. I ain't gonna start lying. It's like over 56,000 pages. So I did 5,600 pages. Correction. So I didn't read the whole. No, I'm sorry. I read that bill, and I read that legislation slightly, and I read the new relief legislation as well. So yeah. I'm talking about two different things. My apologies, but I definitely read.
Even that alone, the stimulus bill, it's trying to understand that bill while trying to think about it. You have to be some type of legal advisor as an everyday person to understand what your government is doing. And so that is also problematic, why we need more attorneys to educate and inform. We need more attorney advisors. We need more political advisors. We need more people enrolled in this process, because for the human, the regular everyday American that's just trying to get by, they are not interested in reading every single bill that passes.
And they shouldn't have to. And honestly, we shouldn't have to. We're paying people. Like Congress gets paid. They get paid like $150,000 or more to do what they're doing. And we all know what they're doing. They're not doing things that benefit the people who hardworking tax dollars are paying them. You know, so you definitely raise a great point, and we have to make sure that we are voting for the right people. Stop just voting for somebody because they smiled at you, or when you saw their commercial, they seemed like a good person. Like, actually take the time out to research these people, and don't just research them like this year, what they've done this year or last year. Look at their track history. Look at their track record. Look at what they've done the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then make your decision on these people. I feel like advertisement is a hell of a thing, because it works.
I think a big part of why we continue to fundraise, why the wellness initiative that we just rolled out is significant, that we're getting soliciting funding for, is so that we can pay for things like creating political report cards. Those were some of the things that we did for a long time, where we rolled out a report card of different policy agendas and how the politicians voted on those agendas, and to help simplify the conversation for the naked eye. And so we want to continue to fundraise around that. We want to continue to fundraise to engage people in the political process. I always say, if every level of government is not working for us, then it's working against us.
If you're not doing good, you're doing bad, right?
I want to thank you to all the donors and activists who have invested and are considering putting funding into this type of programming, where there needs to be government accountability. And a lot of what we do is around accountability. And so we're looking for more people to fund and support this level of accountability. And then you got to also realize that we're dealing with big pharmaceutical companies. Pushing back against this bill directly pushes back against the pharmaceutical industry. It directly pushes back against the power of big pharma. And that's what we knew we were up against when we got started with this process. And that is what we're still up against right now, of the control that big pharma has on our society.
Mm-hmm. And it takes the people. Wherever there's people, there's power. Rest in peace to the late great Fred Hampton. I really feel like we don't realize how much power we have as individuals in this country. It really is what makes this country so great. Other countries don't have the rights and the power that we have as people, as taxpaying citizens in this country. And I think if we get together and put pressure on Congress, this has always worked too. If you look into history, when the people put pressure on Congress, they do what we want them to do. Even if it ain't exactly what we asking for, they might throw a couple. Let me mention this. I read that bill. Let's get to this. No, I'm talking about the vaccines real quick. The thing about the vaccines is that we give vaccines to healthy people. This is a drug that we're giving to people who are, seemingly healthy. And now we're saying we're going to give it to kids who are not only healthy, but haven't even fully developed yet. And we don't even know the effect this is going to have on a child who isn't fully developed yet. We haven't done that. That study hasn't been developed. How does this affect the 11-year-old? Are there 11-year-olds right now being where the drug is being tested on? No. So why would they approve for 11-year-olds to have a vaccine without? You can tell that they are targeting our children, and it's up to us to care so much about our children and their future that we willing to die for it. That's how I feel about it. Like, these are our kids. They're targeting our children. They keep pushing and taking and oppressing and killing and taking until they're gonna keep doing it until we say it's enough. We've had enough of it. And until we say we had enough, they're gonna keep taking, girl, till we ain't got nothing, a stitch, a cell left on our bodies, and then they'll just move on to the next person. So I say all that to say it's up to us. We got to put pressure on Congress, man. Please give them the information to your petition again. Also, I want to let them know that they can also call the mayor, call your council members, call your representatives, and put pressure on. Honestly, I'm believing standing out people's houses. That's how you really put pressure on Congress. Let's show up at their house. I know you can't do that, because I wouldn't want you to do that. But that's not your place to do. Your place, you're doing your job really good. It's up to us to do stuff like that.
It's a part of the process. I think that what you just shared are the sentiments that I've heard from every single mom and concerned guardian that has been made aware of this bill. And so I, in my position, look to amplify the voices of those who I signed up to represent. And that's you all, that's parents, concerned guardians. I don't represent Big Pharma.
Right.
And I think that's the message that we have to get out to those who are avoiding the will of the people. But then there's also the reality of this protection for vulnerable youth. But then you have to look at the vulnerability of of how predatory this is and what position it puts young people in.
Right.
And so we have to keep having these straightforward conversations. We have to keep having these conversations, because if we don't, it is as if we are complicit. It is as if there are no objections.
Yeah. If you're not standing, if they say if you're not helping, you're hindering, and we have to start doing whatever we can to help fight issues like this. And there's so many to fight. But this one right here needs immediate attention, needs immediate support. We have to jump on this immediately. Myself personally, I have called, I have put pressure, I've done what I can do. But my thing is, what do you think? If you could say one thing that you think we could do right now, besides signing a petition to put pressure on Congress, what would your answer be?
I think that everyone needs to be informed to share. One of the things that I do once a month is I download the congressional calendar, I download the Senate calendar, and I download DC Council's calendar of hearings. And to really decide which area you want to focus in on. My area just so happens to be public health and public safety. These are areas where that directly impacts me, that I'm directly focused in on. But I think everyone should pick a category, pick an area that you decide, this is significant to me, and I want to be as informed, as engaged in this process as I possibly can. And I think that that's a start
A
of
major start.
during the process. And I think everybody should be following public health and public safety, because at the end of the day, all that's happening with public health impacts all of us.
I feel that way too. We gotta be we have to know. You don't have to actively be. You don't have to like be a politician, but you have to know the laws, the legislation. You have to know your rights. You have to know. A lot of people don't even know who controls what powers the mayor has, what powers the council has, what powers at large members have, what powers ANC has. People don't really know who's in charge of what. And I think we need to start there, because you can't really ask someone to take responsibility for something, or ask someone to do something that you want them to do if they don't even have control to do it. So,
and I would recommend that educators who are educating on the U.S. government and local government to actually host hearings to inform students on the actual process. It's one thing learning textbook knowledge, and it's another thing learning in actuality.
You're right.
I encourage everyone to be a part of the actual process, because the actual process is what's impacting us. The access barrier is equally a problem as much as it is the digital divide. In our resolution, we're going to resolve that council should be streaming their regular hearings on YouTube in addition to Facebook. They are usually streaming on Facebook, which is where all the information is, but it needs to be on YouTube and in other platforms so that people can access it.
Because everybody doesn't have Facebook.
And
like me, I dropped Facebook as soon as Mark Zuckerberg, when they found out that Mark Zuckerberg sold all the information, and he actually had to testify in front of Congress about that situation.
Yeah.
And then he went and bought Instagram, and because we didn't care enough about it then, he figured he could do it again to us, and even worse. Now he's bought Instagram, and I know you heard recently that he has changed the terms of service when it comes to Instagram users. He's actually changed the terms of services so that, just to name a few things, Sharece, these people can access things through your camera. They'll record everything they see and hear on your camera. And what they call our camera. This is what the terms and conditions say. When they refer to our camera, our personal cellular device, and the camera that is attached to it, they use the term our. So if you're a member of of Instagram and Facebook, these are the things that you're going to be subjected to, that people are going to be able to copy your address book, call log, and text message history, collect all information from everything you search online and all your accounts too. So you're talking about, Sharece, you're talking about banking, credit, accounts you had with different organizations that the government probably don't want you to be involved with, stuff that should be private. Is your business who you want to donate to, right? Medical records, all types of stuff is on people's phones, and also your computer. How do you feel about these new terms of services? And me myself, I deleted Instagram off of every device I have. How about you?
Yeah, I want to be more like my parents. First of all, they don't have any social media, and they've been boycotting it ever since. And what we see now is the result of the Y2K boom. 1999, we were all preparing for a massive shutdown when Y2K hit, because of what was now the highway of super information, the World Wide Web. That was the .com boom. And 10 years later, a decade later, what we're experiencing now is the ramifications of that boom. So the boom was just the beginning, and then now is the actual boom.
Right.
And is what we're seeing. I think that we have more people being involved in cybersecurity. I think more of us need to seek careers in that area. I think we need to make sure that we have the proper protections on our phones and our devices to protect us from this. I think this may actually be another case that goes through congressional review. because it does feel like a breach of privacy and civil liberties. And so you see why we need more Black attorneys. We need more attorneys, people studying and interpreting the law to understand this type of reality. We need leaders to step up in every capacity to take on the realities of what we're dealing with today.
Yeah, I personally think that everybody needs to become a leader, and I don't mean. I mean a leader in your own way. Like, we all need to stand up and step up and say, you know, let's get involved and figure out what we can do individually. We need individual revolutions before we can like be a part of the collective revolution. And I feel like because we are so we're so consumed with our own individual lives, especially now during the pandemic, because like you said, it's so much economic turmoil. People are focused on surviving their next check, how they going to feed their children, how they going to pay their bills, how they going to buy prescription meds, how they going to afford these things. So it's a lot of distractions going on, more so than it was, you know, last year and the year before. But it really takes us to band together and to really let go a lot of this stuff. We got to stop participating. And we participate in a lot of this stuff, and then we complain about it. So I think at some point in time, we have to just say, let's let go of all this stuff. Me, myself, personally, I've found that I've been a slave to some of this stuff, Sharece. I've been a slave to some of this stuff, like the technology and everything. Like, but I'm a 80s baby. Like, I was blessed to be born right before, you know, the technology age really came in and started booming, and we had computers and internet and we had smartphones, and, you know, I was able to live through that. And I'm happy about that, because I know how it feels to not have a cell phone. Like, I know how it feels to have a pager and have to, like, you know, remember when the platinum joints came out? Oh, I was so pressed to get the platinum flip joints. So,
I think it's important to just make human real life connections, to certainly use the internet for information and not allowing it to use us. I think that is what it has become, like a drug. There are scientific studies in the public health side of it that shows how, how the internet has become sort of a dopamine for people. And so the addiction is something that can be recovered from, but it has to be awareness first. And that's a big part of the wellness initiative that we launched at District Influencers, to really help people identify some of these areas of impact, to become aware of them, to take the necessary actions to move forward in a healthier direction.
yeah, because I mean, I went cold turkey. This is to me, this is like
Like I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, I try. That's the only way I can cut things off. I just cut it off. Like, I add back and forth and a little bit here, a little bit there. I do really bad with that, Sharece. So, me personally, I just had to cut it off. But you know, this is like a new unprecedented level of privacy invasion.
Yeah,
And it's not right. I mean, they can record you having sex. They can record you arguing. They can record you doing anything they want to now via our phone, because they call it's our phone now. So it's just, to me, it's just crazy that we're really living through this. Like, people are buying corporations, getting rich because we support the corporation. Facebook is Facebook because of the people. Instagram is Instagram because of the people. DC council members are on that DC council because of the people. So when is it going to ever be about the people? Figuring out what these corporations can do to convenience us and to help us and get back to us and fuel us, you know? So is there, I know you do have a couple of initiatives and everything. You just spoke about one of them. I want you to fill us in on a few other of your initiatives that you have, because I know you've been working so hard in the community.
absolutely. The public health focus, again, is a big part of the focus in public health. Healing communities, healing people to heal communities. Again, about the people, and we're directly working with the companies, targeting the companies that are pledging support for Black communities, to say, hey, Let us show you how to directly fund those dollars, not just in some grand scheme way, but directly to support those that are impacted by adverse policies, directly impacted by this COVID-19 crisis, the economic decline and divide. We are boots on the ground with these families. We just launched the Dion K holiday, where we partner with organizations like Get Strong Fitness, Heels and Deals, Open Bar Tuesday. Liz and her daughter helped us to support a young person who was murdered by MPD. I think we should normalize making sure that not only after the tape is gone, after the cameras are gone, that we look back to say, what is the impact that remains? And so we are in constant conversation with this family, working on getting the financial security cushion for the young people who are trying to cope with the trauma of gun violence and also the trauma of police violence and in our society that is directly impacting their lives. And so that's a big part of what we do at District Influencers, in addition to making sure we have healthy organic healthy organic flu shots, because we talk about the vaccine, which is one thing, but the wellness of it. What do you do while you're quarantined? What do you do while you are trying to get well in the middle of the process? These are systems that we've created. So we've created a 12-month curriculum that includes fitness, healthy meal plans, all of these entities in order to better create a wellness society and not just a society waiting for a vaccine.
Yeah. We need to be more personally responsible to combat this vaccine too. People are stay home. How do you feel about the people that's been traveling so much? Like, we had over 10 million people travel during Thanksgiving. We told people to stay home. Stay home. It's the first time this has happened in most of our lifetime. So it's not like we've had to constantly relive being quarantined. To me, it's an experience. Like, I can say I lived through a quarantine now. I mean, I try to find the a little good in everything. So I'm like, okay, it's an experience. I've lived through this. I can say I know what it is to be quarantined with my family and have to sacrifice things. Because honestly, let's be real, most of us, we don't really know a lot of sacrifice like our ancestors.
When I think about quarantine and staying home, I think about the people who don't have a home to stay in.
Right.
What is happening with our homeless population? We have very limited beds for them. And what is the count of COVID cases, if any? So we have a lot of questions and not enough answers around it. And I think that we have to focus on the vulnerable populations, most importantly, while we deal with answering the questions of why people do what they do or don't do what they do. What can we do to support those who are greatest at risk?
Yeah. What can we do? What can we do? Ask yourself every morning, every AM. You wake up, look in the mirror and say, what can I do to help not just me and my own family, but the collective?
And at the same time, if your only capacity is to stay mentally stable, do that, because some people are hanging on by a thread. COVID, what's not being talked about is the number of suicides and suicide attempts that have far exceeded COVID cases. And that is also problematic because the mental capacity of over-consuming this much trauma in one setting is also triggering and traumatizing.
We got to think about other people. You're right, Sharece. It's traumatizing. And think of the healthcare workers. We're overwhelming the healthcare system. Do we stop to think about these nurses? Do we stop to think about these doctors? These people are overwhelmed. I feel like I need to tap into researching how many healthcare workers have committed suicide during this pandemic. How many healthcare workers have gone crazy? How many healthcare workers have lost their life? Because we as Americans can't sacrifice. Stop going to the bars. Stop having family fun. Like, I don't get why it's so hard for people to just stay home. Now, when you have to work, you have to work. Like, essentials are different. But like, I'm be real, like, I just lost a family member due to this. And
Sorry to hear
it
that.
wasn't even, I appreciate that. And it wasn't even their fault. Guess who it was? The family's fault. The family, this person quarantined. This person didn't go out. This person went nowhere. And this person is dead now. Because the other people in the family decide they want to have a revolving door. Revolving door. And it's not fair to the people who are really taking their time to sacrifice and do what they have to do. And I just feel like for 10 million Americans to fly during the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we fast forward to Christmas holiday, Sharece, we begged, we pleaded with people, please stay home, please. Still, over 1 million Americans flew during the Christmas holiday. Sharece, we about to go. I don't
I
know
think
what we're
what's
gonna get rid of this.
also important to note is that how many people have been born, how many people, every year there is a death toll.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is we get overconsumed right now by the death toll for COVID, that we haven't considered what's happening in all the realms of sicknesses and pre-existing conditions. And so these are things that we have to dissect a little bit deeper
Yes.
while we're diving into the death toll of COVID cases.
Yes.
We want to be very, very careful with allowing, limited information from the media to control the full narrative. And so that's also
a real point.
to note, as we look at the fact that there were going to be people who passed away this year anyway due to pre-existing conditions, although we don't want to see anyone pass away. What is the underlying conditions around the actual death? And so these are the questions that we still have that we're waiting to get answers for. What's also important is to note that people are being born every day. And so let's celebrate the fact that that the yin and the yang, there's life, and then unfortunately there's a death date. And so how do we then help to manage and balance both of these conversations so that we're not consuming so much of death and not overwhelming ourselves with so much death?
Yeah. I think we just got to take it seriously. Just take it seriously.
I agree. And wear your mask. Take it seriously.
And,
Wear your mask.
and let's tell them this too. The vaccine is not 100%. The efficacy is like, they say it's 90% or something. But when you read the paperwork, it says that it's not going to pretty much once you get the vaccine, you can still give it to people and you can still catch it. So my thing is, even when you take the vaccine, be careful, be safe. Like, don't take the vaccine and be like, oh, well, I ain't gonna get it now. I ain't gonna give it to nobody. Just be out here doing anything you want, being reckless. You know what I mean? Let's not do that. And like you said, homelessness. What is your take? I know you mentioned it briefly, but what is your take on the homelessness situation and how we have not done anything for the homeless people in this city when it comes to giving them relief for COVID-19? And then put them in, they have to go to shelters where I'm pretty sure being at a shelter during the pandemic is probably not the safest place to be at because you want to make sure you're quarantined. They really can't quarantine. They want them off the streets, but they have to go to shelter and really can't quarantine. So what is your take on that briefly? I don't want to, belabor it, but what is your take?
I think that there are plenty of opportunities for us to get heated spaces, to get quarantine tents in different parts of the city, to put up borders so that we can help those have a sense of shelter wherever they are. There's so many opportunities that we have dropped the ball on that we continue to apply pressure on for our homeless population, because again, that is still also a public health concern. It's a public health issue.
It really is. And a lot of homeless people are veterans and just good people. I mean, there's over 40 million Americans right now unemployed in this country, right? But you still have a lot of hardworking individuals who are employed, but they're homeless because they can't afford to, pay rent. So it's a lot going into this homelessness issue. People treat homeless people like and I hate to see it, but a lot of people don't care about homeless people. They act like they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics. And some of them are, but let's be real, some of us are. Some of us who aren't homeless are drug addicts and alcoholics and not me, but some of us are. So we should stop judging people on those on those things and start helping people
And
and
you know,
supporting
that's
them.
why the wellness initiative is so important about healing and recovery, because a lot of times we have not dealt with the underlying conditions of mental illness,
Mental illness.
substance and drug abuse, helping to really create recovery that isn't just for opioids and people who have premium health coverage. Uh, that's why we fought hard for restoring Obamacare for the last election and maintaining Obamacare so that people could stay and maintain insurance. So we have some really, really high hills to climb here. And I think that the more we have these conversations, the more we're going to inspire people to make the right decisions, but also inspire the next generation to show up and lead in the way that serves best for our city and for our country.
Real talk. Real talk. I like how you put that. And it's like you always give us the real spill and let us know what we need to do. And we
It
need to
really
follow
is.
through.
Every generation carries the torch but for so far, and messages and conversations like these will pass down to the next generation to give them some idea of what we're dealing with today, and and hopefully it will spark the minds of those leaders to take that baton and run the race the distance. You know, I saw an interview, or actually Prince was accepting an award, and he talked about how the phones were then being used as a control mechanism, how
Yeah.
then we should not allow the phones to control us. And so that was a message then that is applicable today when you look at what's happening with the usage of our devices and the uses and the privacy concerns with different apps. And so we have to be educated on the history of yesterday, so that we can be informed about how we govern ourselves today.
That's true. And we got to do what we can do to make it better for the next generation. Like think about what are we leaving our children? And not just about, we have to focus on generational wealth. We have to.
Absolutely.
But not just about financially. What world are we leaving our children? Are we leaving our children a better world than what was given to us? And that's what every generation needs to be focused on, is leaving a world that looks better than, when it was given to us, to our children.
And that's what we're doing. These kinds of conversations are oral history. They're able to look back and look at these conversations and get some idea of the fact that there are people like us who are trying to create a better society. There's so many leaders out there that I've had a chance to work with and learn from, who are really, really trying to make an impact. And so I hope that they know that we were fighting for them, and I'm rooting for all of us.
We're fighting for all of them. And like you mentioned Prince earlier, Prince died for us. Like these people are dying for us. Nipsey Hussle, Prince, Michael Jackson. These people are being killed because of their message. And I know that what the news say and the media say and all this stuff. But these people are being assassinated because they have so much power over the community. And their message is so powerful and so revolutionary that they have to take these people out of this physical realm, right? So my message to you today is, if you truly love Michael Jackson, you truly love Nipsey Hussle, you truly love Prince like I do, you want to step up and fight this fight and carry this torch, because I don't want them to die in vain. I don't want nobody to die in vain. Whoever fought for us, we need to carry that torch and let them live through us, because if we don't, then what did they die for? Because these people shed blood for us. That was Warren Buffett's plane that Prince was on that night when he got sick. You know what I'm saying? When he got sick with that, whatever they claim he got sick with. But when he passed away the next morning. So
that is a
whatever happened to him on that plane, man, just rest in
That's a powerful
peace.
message. I hope people do find something to live and die for. I'm going to close out with this. A wise person once told me that you get two most important dates in life if we're lucky, and one is the day we were born, and the other is the day we find out why we're here.
Why you're here. You realize that purpose. You realize that purpose.
Your purpose, you'll know what you're here to live and die for.
Yeah. Each other. I feel like we all have the foundation of all of our purpose is to uplift humanity and protect humanity. That's really what we're here to do, and create love, create and protect Mother Earth.
Yeah.
What else are we here to do? The, the the powers that be, they complicate life. Like, we would really be happy as hell right now without all
And
this
that's why
confusion and
this is
distractions and
HUTV.
stuff.
That's why this is Human Nature
Yeah.
TV, because that is what I sincerely believe, is that we're on one planet.
Yeah.
We're all stemming from one race. So I want to shout out to everyone that's working intentionally to heal, so that we are not raising another generation that needs to heal from childhood traumas. And I want to thank you, Human Nature TV, your whole production team, for all the conversations that you're having around very, very important subject matters. I want to encourage you to keep your stream alive and to keep hope alive.
Thank you so much, Sharece. I appreciate it. And I definitely will. I definitely will, especially with wonderful sisters such as yourself that continues to uplift, continues to inspire. And I couldn't do anything else but that with women like you.
Well, you know what? I'm
To
happy
look up
to
to.
serve, and looking forward to us making sure that we're monitoring the process.
Yes, man. We got to make sure of that for sure. Now, is there anything else you would like to mention that you feel like the people should know that they don't know?
Stay connected at District Influencers. Stay connected at Crawford at Large, and really make a decision on finding out your purpose and your radical contribution in this movement. I think that we can all agree that this is a movement that's happening in our lifetime right now, and every act of service is necessary. Every contribution is necessary, and I want those who are watching this right now, whether it's recorded or whatever time you see this, you decide your radical contribution to your life first, your family, your community, and society, because these are the levels of humanity.
Yeah. And do what you could do. People, we overwhelmed. Like me personally, it's so much.
This is your radical contribution.
You have to take your break.
There you go.
Healers need healing too.
Be very intentional about the time that you
Real
need.
talk. Yes, because people will talk like, why you ain't, they be pressured. I'm like, listen.
It is okay.
You got to understand, you can't change the world being like the world.
Yeah.
So I got to be me, and I got to represent what I think is the next best thing closest to God, and I just gotta do that. So stick to your guns, people. Like Sharece said, figure out what you want to do, even if it's something that is the smallest thing that you think you could do. If that's what you can do, do it, and don't worry about what somebody else saying.
Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it, and right is right, no matter who believes it.
Right. Now, if you do have time, I want to ask you, how do you feel about you don't have to answer it, but how do you feel about the new DC police chief pick?
So he's been on the force for a very long time. I've heard some really great feedback. I have not worked with him personally, but I have seen some of the work that he's done to try to intercede in very challenging areas.
Yeah.
And so I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want our leadership to succeed, because our leadership succeeding is our city succeeding. And so I'm looking forward to what initiatives he rolls out, and wishing him much success.
I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that. I'm rooting for him too, and I'm happy to see him here. We haven't had a black, I try not to get into these color labels. I really do. I love my people, Sharece. I love all humans, but I especially love my people, right? I try not to say, my thing is this: I have not seen someone who looks like me in that position for a while. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been at least 20. I feel like it's been like, what, 20? Has it been 20 years yet since we've had a black police chief? It's been a minute. So, please, brother, you've representing us, man. If you've been doing good in your position, continue to do good. Don't let nothing stop you from doing that. Because we definitely need to reform almost everything to do with the MPD. So, I'm rooting for you, brother.
His hands full, that's for sure. So
he definitely got his hands full. I think our murder rate is the highest now since I can't even remember. I hate to say the 90s. I don't think it's as not as high as the 90s, but it's definitely hasn't been as high for a while. So
we are definitely overconsumed by deaths from COVID, deaths from homicides, deaths from different acts of violence.
yeah.
And our youth are deeply traumatized.
Sharece, I'm gonna keep you for one more thing. How do you feel about this stimulus check? This $600 stimulus check. They approved that, but then they went to they proposed a $2,000 stimulus check, and then Trump, I believe, he vetoed that. Well, how do you feel about the $2,000 check being vetoed by Mitch and Trump?
I think at the consumer level, it is important to be strategic with every single dollar that you receive, because inflation matters on the back end of these kinds of stimulus, and to maximize the business side of the stimulus as well, not just the stimulus side that comes to the individual, but really, really look at what actions you can take to become your own enterprise, becoming the business, and maximizing those opportunities as well. I think that I like Nancy Pelosi's response to immediately support the $2,000 stimulus. We knew that that would not go through with Mitch in the House, in the Senate. And so this is why we're working really hard to flip the Senate. The Georgia race is happening right now. The runoff race is important to track and follow. So if anybody is listening in Georgia or has family there, make sure they get out and go vote. Make sure they get out and pay attention to what's happening in that race.
Atlanta made the difference. Y'all see how Atlanta made the difference in that presidential election. Without, man, shout out Atlanta, man. Without y'all coming through, I mean, don't get me wrong. It took everybody in Georgia that voted for Biden to make it happen. But boy, Atlanta was that difference maker in the end.
And I think it's frustrating that everyday people are seeing six-figure earners getting paid to debate whether or not they deserve $600,
right?
And or finding new ways to get them the real financial relief that families need. So many people see it as a joke. But it's also important that they're still going to need those dollars as soon as possible.
We're going to have to pressure Congress, Sharece. They're going to get us money up, because they think about even the 08, was that the 08 or 09 bailout when Obama bailed? These people write huge checks to corporations to bail them out. They write, I don't know if you read the stimulus, this most recent stimulus relief package, but they throw so much BS into the bill, Sharece, is ridiculous. Like, why are we paying Pakistan and Israel money? Why are we sending money to Pakistan and Israel out of our relief money package? Why are we adding felony provisions for people who illegally stream videos and music and profit off of it? Why are we adding? It's more stuff that they just throw into bill. The stuff that they throw in the bill, Sharece, is ridiculous. And I mean, I really feel like these people are devils, man.
What we're seeing right now is a transition of power, and that those are trying to hold on and maintain power. And so everything and anything you can think of that can go wrong in this time period will likely do that. So when Trump says stand by and stand back, that was for all of it. We did receive a vaccine faster than we received fresh water in Michigan.
Sure did. And we still don't have fresh water in Flint, do we? Still don't have it.
I think the challenges that we face today is that we've all been assigned to pieces of this mountain to prove that it can be moved.
Real talk.
And I think we should all identify where our specific contribution is going to be and how we can amplify those messages.
Yes. Well,
thank you so much for paying attention and monitoring this process, my sister.
Do you know if there's a way that the people can have a say-so on the actual amount of the stimulus?
Contacting your congressional representation.
Yeah, that's what I
think that the fact that this bill got passed in this Congress, the next Congress is not check in until January 4th. And so become fully aware of all the new elected officials who will be taking office on January 4th, both locally and federally.
Yeah.
And begin establishing those relationships with them, email, correspondent, find out everyone that's on the teams of those individuals, and really make that a part of your normal daily operations.
Research. Do your own hashtag. Do your own research.
Yeah.
And when you do your own research, figure out what is the good entity, what is the bad entity, so you can fuel the good. Hashtag fuel the good. Because if you're not fueling the good, you're fueling the bad. Whether it's unbeknownst to you or not, you are fueling the bad. So let's please continue to fuel the good in everything that we do. Let's continue to bless people with transformative energy. Like, let's transform negative energy into positive energy. Let's bless people like that. And let's continue to support and continue to uplift community activists, community influencers, council women,
all
our
of your support out
representatives.
there.
Yes.
So stay
Thank you.
connected and come on by and volunteer. Do some interns
Yes.
with us. We're looking for more interns. We are recruiting. We're recruiting. We need you. We're looking for a few good men. Send them our way. We need interns. We need videographers, marketing persons. We need graphic persons. We need all of you all to show up and join us.
Yeah. And if you love the city like we love the city, it shouldn't be hard for you to do it. Is a love one, love all, and we in this together. And it's, to me, it's, I hate to have us against them versus us and all that. But it is what it is. We get to the point we got to pick a side. In certain aspects, you have to pick a side. I'm a person, I like to be balanced. They trying to give our babies vaccines, y'all. Come on. They trying to give our babies who haven't even fully developed.
B23, hashtag veto B23-0171. We're working on the Attorney General's response. Getting a response from the Attorney General, as well as a referendum done as well. Get involved, stay involved, and really plug in to the decisions that are being made with and without our consent.
Mm-hmm. Hey, real talk.
For having me. It was
give me your hashtags.
Human nature. Yes, at Crawford at large.
I said hashtags. I'm sorry. You knew. See, that's why I love you. You knew what I meant.
Listen, but the hashtag is veto B23-0171. Also hashtag DC Wellness Initiative. Hashtag Refuel DC. These are all a part of our health initiatives that we want you to be involved in, because we want to build healthy and wealthy communities. Stay connected at Crawford at large, and at District Influencers. We are working on the wellness side with the District Influencers and on the policy side at Crawford at large.
Awesome. Now we're going to leave this show the way we leave every show, on a positive note. He that beats the drum for the madman to dance is no better than the madman himself. It's an ancient African proverb. I hope that didn't go over your heads. Thanks again to Sharece Crawford for joining the Tap In on True Culture. Be sure to stay up to date with Sharece, because if you don't know what's going on in the city, all you got to do is check in with Sharece, and she going to make sure you know what's going on. Stay up with True Culture on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, and Instagram. No longer Instagram. Hey, look, Sharece, I got to check that out of joint. No, I'm still on Instagram, but I'm not on Instagram. So
got it.
Check me out. Maybe they reverse the terms of services or something. I might come back on it. But check us out definitely on YouTube, and also at HUEmanNatureTV.com. If all else fails, please come to Human Nature TV. Matter of fact, come to HumanNatureTV.com first. That's HUEMAN NatureTV.com. Sisters and brothers, the revolution may not be televised, but it will be broadcasted. True Culture on Human Nature TV. Peace.
Peace and love.